to come up with topic ideas. And like this year we had a central theme. The central theme is building your audience and marketing, specifically targeting your audience with personas. So we're starting to plan next year both a theme and topics related to that theme. So if you have any comments or suggestions about what that theme should be or what topics you'd like to learn about, please let us know. You can either send me an email here, or you can let us know through a feedback form that's going to go out after this meeting as well. And I would really, really love to get some responses to the feedback forms because this is how we know what you want to learn about and what you want to get out of the group. So with that, let me see. There's Courtney. So today the presentation is from Courtney Thompson. She's a senior marketing associate at my company, Ingenium Business and Consulting Services. And she's going to be speaking to us about the why and how of blogging. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this. Courtney, do you have the ability to share your screen?
I should. Give me 1 second. Hang on. Technical difficulty.
No problem.
Everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Let me switch this around here. Okay, can everyone still see that?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So today, as Rebecca said, I wanted to just share some thoughts and things that I have learned on the why and how of blogging, specifically digging into how to produce content that is both strategic and content that people actually want to read, which are two sides of the same coin. So first of all, why even bother with blogging? I don't know about you guys, but especially this past year, I have felt so overwhelmed by the amount of information that's available online that I'm constantly being inundated with. So we live in this information age where there's so much online chatter. It seems like anyone can share a blog if they have the resources and access to the internet. And everyone has an opinion about something. So, why should we as marketers add to the cyber chatter? And will anyone actually want to read what we have to say? But I would say that blogging matters to your marketing if one, you want to offer added value to your leads, your customers, or your clients. If you want to establish yourself as an authority in your field, or if your customers have questions about your field, your area of expertise, or your product that you are uniquely positioned to answer. And I think that what those 3 points say is that blogging matters for marketing across the board. So specifically today, what I want to cover is where marketing, blogging fits into the marketing funnel, how we can be strategic with our blogging, and then how to craft content that is delightful and people actually will enjoy reading. Okay, so first of all, the marketing funnel, what blogging isn't. So blogging, first of all, is not a random compilation of your thoughts. It is not a diary entry. And I don't think any business presentation would be complete without an office clip. So here we go.
The audio is not sharing.
I remember. I blogged the whole thing.
Wait,
www.creedthoughts.gov.www/creedthoughts. Check it out.
Last year, Creed asked me how to set up a blog. wanting to protect the world from being exposed to Creed's brain, I opened up a Word document on his computer and put an address at the top. I've read some of it.
All right.
Even for the internet,
blogging
it's
is not
pretty
a
shocking.
brain dump of your thoughts. Secondly, blogging is not generally it is not a lead generation tool. There is a caveat to that, and I'll get into that in a moment. So first of all, it's not a lead generation tool, primarily because winning the SEO game is hard. It's really hard. An SEO focused lead gen strategy requires either a huge amount of time investment because you're producing a massive amount of content, either you or your team, or it requires a huge money investment to pay for people who are technically savvy to do the technical SEO that needs to be done on both the front end and the back end of blogs, and also the expense of just generating that much content. There are a couple of exceptions to when to this general rule. The exception would be if you are a company who is extremely niche. You have a product or a service that is new and there's very few people either blogging or producing content or just offering that kind of service or product. The other exception is if you just happen to get very lucky. I actually had a client who struck gold with one blog at one point. This is before I started working with him actually, and he actually ended up ranking pretty highly with one of those blogs, but it was just a stroke of random luck. So generally, blogging is not a lead generation tool. What it is, however, is that it is generally a lead nurturing tool. And the way it nurtures leads is that it's confirmation that you understand your lead's problem and that you offer a solution to that problem. So with any type of marketing, we're always talking about problems and solutions. Your lead has a problem, you offer that solution. Blogging is a way to offer confirmation that you understand that. It's also a way to offer a value add for your leads with a call to action at the end. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. It also helps to educate clients and leads. If you have a product or a service that's new, or you're doing things a little bit differently than anybody else, then it's an opportunity to offer some education. The other benefit of using blogging as a lead nurturing tool is it can be cross-shared on other lead nurturing tools. So on things like email campaigns, email newsletters, social media. So it has a lot of cross purpose. All right, so then moving on, blogging strategically. So the most important thing for blogging strategically to me is never blog just for the sake of having a blog. What happens when you have this mindset is that it can lead to sporadic content creation, no content creation, which the two combined or one or the other can create a negative impact on your lead's perception of you. And we've all visited those websites where we go to the blog page or the articles page or the resources page, and no content has been produced since February of 2018. And what that does is it raises a red flag in the mind of your leads or your potential customers. And it can make them question as to whether or not you're actually a viable business or an active business. So don't just blog for the sake of just having a blog. If you're blogging just for the sake of having a blog, in my opinion, you're better off not having one. All right, so to blog strategically, there's a few things that I think are really helpful to consider. First of all, your overall marketing goals. Do you want to grow sales of a particular product or service? Do you want to encourage free consultations? Do you want to grow simple brand awareness? Growing sales means that you could be producing seasonal content focused around a particular product or service. Free consultations, that's something that you can encourage year round. Simple brand awareness, that goes back to lead generation, and it's not something that I generally recommend for blogging, but it can be a goal. All right, the second thing to consider, and this is something we've talked about a lot this year, is your personas. So one, determine what your persona is writing to and what content they want to read. So this helps to pivot your blogs to a very customer-focused mindset. What is content that they want to read? And in order to figure that out, it's helpful to do some keyword research. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I like to use tools like Ubersuggest and Answer the Public to do keyword research. You don't have to be super SEO savvy to use them. They're fairly self-explanatory, and they do have some, at least Answer the Public has some visual aids to help you figure out what questions people are asking. And then finally, tap into emotions and words that appeal to your personas. If you've built out your personas well, then you should have an idea of emotions and words that appeal to that persona, and you can incorporate those into your blogging and into your blog topics. Third, you want to consider your call to action. What do you want your blog to encourage your readers to do? So you don't just post a blog with content. You want to have an end game. So examples could be something like signing up for the newsletter, or purchase this product, or schedule a free 15-minute consultation. Those are all things that a blog can lead a reader to do that ultimately benefit your business. And then finally, how you're going to share your blog. So you never want to just post a blog and leave it for your audience to discover on your own, because that goes back to SEO. If they're going to discover it on their own, then you're waiting for them to come to your website, you're waiting for them to find it on Google, and no one's got time for that. So in order to get the word out about this content, you could use it as social media content, use it for email content. If it is a particularly awesome blog that, especially if you're tracking data and you're getting a lot of hits on it, you could even turn that blog into a lead magnet, like an ebook. It's something that people could download and exchange for an email address or other contact information. So those are the things that I like to consider when producing blog content. So moving on, crafting your content. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to write content that people will actually want to read and enjoy reading. And for me, the first step in that is doing your keyword research. And the reason why we want to do keyword research is not to win at the SEO game. I think we tend to get that mixed up. We do keyword research to play with Google when we actually want to do keyword research to play with our customers. You want to answer questions about your solution that people are actually asking. And the way to figure out what questions people are actually asking is to do that keyword research. And then the other reason is because you want to answer those questions using keywords so that Google can recognize that you're answering those questions. So it has a two-pronged benefit towards doing that keyword research. But the primary goal is to make sure that you're actually answering questions that people are asking about your service or your product. It's that customer-focused blogging. The second step is to do some research. If you're writing a blog, take some time to make sure that you're actually offering real value to your leads and to your customers. If you're writing about something that you have some general knowledge about, that's great. But if you can go the extra mile and offer some deeper information to your leads and your customers, that just further positions you as an expert in your field. And then people especially don't like to feel like their time has been wasted on clickbait fluff or just reading a bunch of stuffed keywords. We have BuzzFeed for that. People don't want to feel like their time is wasted. If you're blogging to provide value to your customers, then make sure you're actually doing some research so you can provide that value. Step 3 would be to create a content calendar. And the reason for that is it helps to ensure consistent content creation. So you can use a content calendar to keep a list of content ideas. Sometimes you have a spark of inspiration and you come up with a bunch of ideas all at once. And then other times you have a dry season of ideas. But if you have that running list, then you should, in theory, have content you can write about on a regular basis so that when you run into the dry season, you have a list of ideas. Keep a record of the keyword research you've done so you don't have to reinvent the wheel each time. Keyword research does take some time, and you do want to redo it every once in a while, but keep a record of what you've done so you don't have to go back and do it every time you write a blog. Assign yourself due dates and stick to them as much as you possibly can. So hold yourself accountable to those due dates. And then if you're just getting into blogging and you're not sure how much time it could take, or you're not sure who on your team you could assign it to, start small. And for some, that could be one blog per month. I generally don't recommend blogging any less than that, because then you run into that issue of, oh, are they actually, that negative perception. But definitely aim to be consistent. If you're going to blog one per month, publish one per month. If your goal is 2 per month, publish 2 per month. Be consistent. And then finally, step 4 is to practice writing well. And writing well definitely takes practice. I think there are very few people in this world who wake up one day or just born with this innate ability to craft content, put words together in a way that are just beautiful. It takes work. I love this quote from Tom Clancy: "You learn to write the same way you learn to play golf. You do it and you keep doing it until you get it right." It takes repetition. It takes practice. And in some ways I like to encourage writing good content is to read good content for stylistic inspiration. So I like to read classic literature, but just reading well-written content can help you develop better style. Secondly, you can avoid bad grammar, common punctuation mistakes. That's kind of the very beginning of writing well. And I Google grammar, I Google punctuation mistakes, that sort of thing all the time, because we forget, or we write conversationally and we forget. But it's very important to avoid that bad grammar, punctuation mistakes, because again, if you're trying to establish yourself as authority, avoiding those common things can be extremely helpful. And then to help avoid them, it can be helpful to send those blogs to another eye, proofreading eye, to get someone else's eye on your work. I always recommend working from an outline, and that doesn't mean that you have to have, bulleted points and subpoints and all that stuff. Sometimes it can be helpful just to write up the individual points on sticky notes and line them up in front of you. That way you can quickly reorganize, but have an outline, have a flow, a logic flow, so that what you're writing is organized and makes sense to the reader. Another thing Go back. Another thing I like to recommend is avoiding passive wording and language. So as much as possible, avoid those am, is, are, was, were, be, being, been, being verbs. And the reason for that is you're not using colorful language. You're not using that language that you've put together in the personas to draw that reader in. So as much as possible, avoid passive wording and language. And then finally, this is something that one of my professors in college tried to drill into our heads. Show your reader, don't tell your reader. If you have an awesome product, don't tell them that it's awesome. Show them that it's awesome. Help them enter into the experience either through fleshing out a testimonial or telling a story. But stories engage people. So as much as you're able, show, don't tell. So that's all I have. And thanks guys for listening. And I hope that this was helpful for all of you.
Thank you, Courtney. We'll take, we have a few minutes for if anyone has any questions. You can either put them in the chat or you could just unmute yourself.
I don't know if it's really a question. It's more like I'm interested in Courtney's response to my thought. I don't have anybody else on my staff. It's just me, and I do all the parts of the job. So I'm not sure I could commit to blogging even once a month. But as you were talking, Courtney, I had the idea of maybe, I don't know, it's not quite a blog, but what do you think about doing a page on my website that's like questions that people normally ask me, and posting them sort of as blogs, but they wouldn't necessarily be on a consistent schedule, but it's work that I'm already doing. So a lady asked me this morning if young men still had to register for the draft. And I didn't know the answer to that. So I researched and found the answer to her question and answered it. It would be, the work would be manageable for me to then throw that question up and have an answer under it of, here's the current information on that topic. Do you think that that would be effective, kind of function like a blog without being something that I write every month new from scratch?
First of all, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I was getting a notification that my audio wasn't working. Okay, so two things on that. First of all, if you're getting consistent questions and the same questions, I would keep a record of those and create an FAQ page if you don't have one already. That way people can go straight to that page, and you can write just a brief blip under each question. Secondly, I think what I would do is, rather than, oh, I got this question and I did all this research, let me just post this blog on a random schedule. I would start maybe accumulating that list of ideas. You can go ahead and write the blog, but then once you have, I don't know, say 6 of those questions and long form answers accumulated, then you can schedule them out to something like once a month. Because again, you want to have that consistency, because if you post a blog in September and then you don't post one again till December, and then you do one in January, and then you do one in March, like people see that. And one, that detracts from the strategic nature of the blogging. And then 2, that also creates that negative perception. So what I would say is, I think that sounds like you need to start keeping a content idea list, and saving your research, so that when you're ready to write those blogs, you have all that content together. And it will save you a lot of time in the future when you're ready to start blogging consistently.
Okay, thank you.
Matt had a question in the chat. Oh, he says, can you elaborate a little on helping scheduling your blogs? Maybe not in a way of buying tech or a program for it, but do you use a template?
Definitely recommend a blogging template so they all look roughly the same. So have a consistent design, a consistent branded design that matches your website and your branding colors and your logo and all that stuff. As far as scheduling out blogs, I'm most familiar with using the WordPress format, and WordPress allows you to schedule on the back end. And it's super simple to just, like with the previous question, you have 6 blog ideas and you've done all this research and you're having a moment of inspiration, you just write them all at once. And so then you can schedule them, you can go ahead and get them set up and drafted in the back end of WordPress, and then schedule them out 1 per month over the next 6 months. And then you're covered for 6 months.
I believe Squarespace, I know for a fact Squarespace has a scheduling function as well. I'm not sure about Wix and Weebly, since it's been years since I've used them. But I know most of the major blogging websites and software uses schedulers. Anyone else have any questions before we jump into discussion? All right, I'm going to go ahead and post the discussion questions. When I did that last time, did it